There could be a song playing inside your head. You can't hear it with your ears. There are no speakers, no headphones, and yet, you can hear it. Maybe it's the chorus. Maybe it's only 3 or 4 notes. But here's the strange part. You didn't choose to play it. Your brain did. And if you try really hard to make it stop, you might accidentally make it louder. Because the thing keeping that song alive isn't the music around you. It's something happening inside your own mind.
This is Past and Possibilities, where we explore the science, mysteries, and fascinating stories hidden behind the world around us. And today, we're going inside your brain to find out why some songs refuse to leave.
And scientists have a name for this strange experience: involuntary musical imagery. But why does it happen? Why does your brain choose one song out of thousands? Why does it repeat the same tiny section? And why does it sometimes appear when you're doing absolutely nothing? The answer is much stranger than you might expect. The song that isn't really playing. You probably know this experience as an earworm. A song suddenly appears in your mind and keeps coming back without you deliberately remembering it. It can be a song you love, a song you hate, a commercial jingle, or even a melody you haven't heard in years. And here's the first strange thing. There is no actual sound. If someone standing next to you listened carefully, they wouldn't hear anything. But you would still experience the melody. That's because your brain can create something called auditory imagery. In simple terms, your brain can simulate the experience of hearing a sound without that sound actually being present. Think about a familiar song right now. You don't need to play it. You can probably imagine the melody. Maybe you can even imagine the singer's voice. Your ears aren't doing the work. Your brain is reconstructing the sound from memory. And that raises a much bigger question. If your brain can recreate a song, what keeps pressing replay? Your brain's sound scratchpad. To understand that, we need to look at something called the phonological loop. It's part of your working memory. Think of it as a temporary mental scratchpad for sounds and language. Imagine someone tells you a phone number. You repeat it silently in your head so you don't forget it. That repetition helps keep the information active. Something similar can happen with music. A short melody can remain active in your mind, even after the external sound has disappeared. You don't have to consciously tell yourself, play the chorus again. Your brain can maintain pieces of the musical pattern automatically, but there's a problem. A song isn't just a collection of random sounds, it's a pattern, and your brain is obsessed with patterns. Your brain is always one step ahead. When you hear a familiar song, your brain isn't simply receiving one note after another, it's predicting. You hear one note, and your brain starts preparing for the next. You hear a familiar rhythm, and you already expect it to continue. That's why you can sometimes sing the next line of a song before the singer does. Your brain knows what's coming. It has learned the pattern, and the more familiar the song becomes, the stronger those predictions can become. This is one reason catchy music is so powerful. A good hook doesn't make your brain work hard to remember it. It gives your brain a pattern that is easy to predict and satisfying to complete. But now comes the part that explains the loop. Why your brain keeps going back. Imagine a short section of a song. It begins, the melody rises, the rhythm repeats, and eventually, it reaches a familiar point. Your brain recognizes where the pattern is going, and because the beginning of the song is already strongly associated with everything that follows, the entire sequence can be mentally reconstructed again. Beginning, middle, end, beginning, middle, end, again, and again, and again. It can feel like your brain has become trapped inside a tiny musical circle, but there isn't literally a little recording playing endlessly inside your head. The experience is more complicated. Memory, auditory processing, attention, working memory, and prediction can all contribute to the mental replay of music. Your brain isn't pressing a physical replay button, it's rebuilding the pattern. And some songs are much better at triggering that reconstruction than others. Why that song? So why does your brain choose that song? Why not another one? There isn't one single answer, but certain musical features seem to make songs especially memorable. Simple melodies, strong rhythms, repeated phrases, familiar patterns, and sometimes something slightly unusual. A melody can be predictable enough to remember, but unusual enough to stand out. That's a powerful combination. Your brain can easily reconstruct the pattern, but it also has something distinctive to hold on to. That's why the most annoying earworm isn't necessarily your favorite song. It might simply be the song your brain finds easiest to replay. And there's another factor that can make it even more powerful. Emotion. A song isn't stored as sound alone. It can become connected to places, people, events, memories, even specific periods of your life. That's why one song can suddenly transport you back years. You aren't just remembering the melody. You're activating an entire network of associations, and sometimes all it takes is one tiny trigger. A word, a place, a video, a smell, a conversation. You may not consciously notice the connection, but your brain might, and suddenly, the song is back. Why does it happen when you're bored? Here's something interesting. Earworms often seem to appear when you're doing something repetitive, or when your mind isn't completely occupied. Walking, driving, taking a shower, lying in bed, doing chores. Why? Because your brain doesn't shut down when you're bored. Far from it. When you're not focused on a demanding task, your mind has more opportunity to wander. Memories can surface, thoughts can appear, and familiar sounds can replay. So that random song may not have appeared from nowhere. Your brain may have been quietly processing something that reminded you of it. You simply didn't notice the trigger. And that leads to one of the most frustrating parts of the entire phenomenon. The trap of trying to stop it. Have you ever told yourself, whatever I do, I am not going to think about that song? And 5 seconds later, there it is. Because to check whether you're thinking about the song, you have to think about the song. It's a strange mental trap. You try to push the melody away, but your attention keeps checking whether it's still there. And that attention can keep the memory active. So sometimes, the harder you fight the earworm, the more attention you give it. Instead, switching your attention to something genuinely demanding can help. Solve a problem. Have a conversation. Read something carefully. Give your brain another pattern to process. And for some people, listening to the complete song can also help, because instead of having a tiny, unfinished fragment, repeating, your brain gets the entire musical structure. But even after you understand all of this, one question remains. Why are human brains capable of doing this in the first place? It isn't really a glitch. The strange truth is, your brain probably isn't malfunctioning. It isn't broken. And there probably isn't an actual music loop hiding somewhere inside your head. The earworm is more like an unintended consequence of abilities that are incredibly useful. Your brain is built to recognize patterns, to store memories, to predict what comes next, to connect different experiences, and to imagine things that aren't physically present. Music happens to activate many of these abilities at the same time. A melody is a pattern. A rhythm is a pattern. Lyrics involve language. Repetition strengthens memory. And prediction helps you anticipate what comes next. So the same brain that allows you to remember a conversation, recognize a familiar voice, and predict the next word in a sentence, can also reconstruct 3 seconds of a song, over and over and over again. Maybe the earworm isn't a failure of the brain. Maybe it's the brain doing exactly what it was built to do, just in a way you didn't ask for. So the next time a song suddenly starts playing inside your head, remember what's actually happening. There are no headphones. There are no speakers. There may not even be any sound. Your brain is creating the experience itself. A few notes become a pattern. The pattern becomes a memory. The memory becomes a prediction. And suddenly, your mind has its own private music player. You never pressed play. But somehow, your brain did. And perhaps that's the strangest thing about the human mind. It doesn't just experience the world around you. It can remember what isn't there, predict what hasn't happened yet, and sometimes create an entire experience without anything happening outside your head. So if that song is still playing in your mind right now, don't blame your headphones, blame your brain.